Hello and welcome to A Cat in the Garden. Nutmeg is somewhere behind my hair, hanging out on my shoulders, and he's so excited to be out here because it has been so cold for the past week, and today it's sunny and 80 degrees. I don't know why, but it's so warm and nice. This is not what we were expecting. The weather is being really bipolar right now, and after today it's going to cool down. So we figured it was the perfect day to do the November garden tour and just show all of the transitions happening in the garden this month. Things are really in between seasons right now. I'm just starting to get all the fall veggies out just because it was so warm up until the past week, but I think Nutmeg's ready to go. Saffron is running around the garden. I can see her right now. So let's get to it. So I've left my frost cloths out on a couple of the beds just because I think Friday is supposed to get down to 37, and I'm really trying to keep these beans alive as long as possible. They can tolerate some cold weather, just not a freeze. And the last time it got cold last week, it got down to 36, and they survived with the cover. I just harvested the beans yesterday, so I don't think there's much to show off on all these beans. But as you can see, there's quite a lot of blooms, so they're still going strong. And because of that, I really want to keep them alive if I can. I also did plant, because I know they're going to die off eventually, I planted my Swiss chard in here. Oh, here's a little bean. It's growing. Just a little guy. So he'll be ready in a few days. So I've got my rainbow chard, and then I also got a yellow chard because in that pack there wasn't any yellow. So I'm moving it because most of the chard died. I'll show y'all in the other bed. And this bed, just peppers never did well in here, but the beans did. So I figured just putting something more perennial in this bed would be better. Saffron is out here eating grass. Let's not do that, baby. Let's not do that today. Thank you. The blue salvia I do need to trim back because it's mostly dying off here. There are some pockets that are growing in the middle. So if I just trim back some of this overgrown mess, that might do well. I did take all of the peppers out of here when I thought it was going to freeze. So pretty much what I have left right now is the chives. I have the leeks and more chives. I have marigold and a nutmeg right now, I guess. He's just enjoying the empty bed. He does really like sitting in them when there's not as many plants sometimes, and just observing everything. I did leave the peppers in here because I wasn't sure if I was going to save them, and they did survive. So if enough of the peppers that I tried to save and overwinter died, then I'll save these. But I'm just trying to see how they're doing. It's only been about a week, so some of them are still in shock. Some of them will die. I'm not going to have a 100% success rate, so I might end up saving a few of these. Next to it, I do have my collards that I put in the ground a couple weeks ago, and they're starting to grow really, really well, though it is warm today, so that one's a little bit wilted. I might come in after this and give them a quick drink. My kohlrabi that I left in the entire summer is starting to grow again, but that's fine. And then my peas are attaching to the trellis. I'm really excited. These are the sugar magnolia purple. This one is the most attached to the trellis. So they had to grow up past all of these vincas, and now they're doing really well. So everything in this bed is doing great. I did also trim back my summer savory because it just had taken over the entire bed. I typically have to trim it back 3 to 4 times a year. I just don't use it enough, and it is a weed. It is an absolute weed in this garden. And finally, at the end of this row, the basil is still going strong. I have mostly let it go to flower because the bees are enjoying it, and because it's cooler, there's not as many flowers for them right now. I don't know if you can see, but they're all flying around having the best time. Oh, they're just so cute. Does anyone else just think that bees are adorable? I think they're some of the cutest little creatures. They're so fuzzy. So that's doing well. I still have a couple of scallions here. I have parsnips, and I don't know if they're still here because they were getting pretty big, but I had some swallowtail caterpillars hanging out. They might have left. You can see where they ate the parsnips. Yeah, they might have left to go make a chrysalis, which is good because they'll overwinter and hatch in the spring. But I had quite a few. And then I have my dragon tongue bush beans. they're not doing as well with the cold weather, but I still have some beans growing on them. They're gonna be done soon. I just don't know if they'll be able to take another cold snap, so I'll just pick all the beans that I can. Here's one that's like falling off. Oh no, it's still attached. Okay, so yeah, I'll pick the last few beans right before the cold snap, and that'll be the end of that. I also have the beets that I left in the ground for the entire year. They're starting to grow back, and that foliage is looking a lot better with less pest pressure. And I do have one bean climbing here. I don't think I'm gonna get anything out of it. It just kind of sprouted late. So I'm letting it go, but I think as soon as we get another cold snap, that's gonna be gone. Same with the vincas. I think as soon as we get a legitimate freeze, they'll be gone too. And the next row, the watermelons are basically done. I'm just letting them die off. The vincas have absolutely taken over this bed. I'm gonna have to do something about that next year because as much as I love them, this is supposed to be a vegetable bed. And yeah, I mean, they're so pretty. They're the cutest. I love them. They're my favorite flower to grow, but yeah, they're going a little crazy right now. And then I do have the white currant cherry tomato still doing well. Not a lot of tomatoes ripe on it because we picked them all right before that cold snap, but there's new ones growing. So as long as we don't get a legitimate freeze, they're going to keep growing on this plant. I've got a lot of new ones, so I'm really excited about that. It's just growing all over the place, and I'm just letting it at this point. There's also this tomato that I don't know what it is. I did plant it months ago. There might be a tag, but this is the first tomato it's actually grown because it got crowded out by the vincas for a lot of the year. So I'll keep an eye on that, see what that is. I also have some really exciting things happening in this bed. I have been able to keep my eggplant alive. I'm so proud of this plant. It has a new eggplant and it has some new flowers. I love that they're purple. They're so pretty. Here's another flower that's about to open. And I don't know, if you know this, please let me know in the comments below. Can I overwinter this like a pepper? Can I take it out of the ground, put it in a smaller pot, and keep it alive? Is that something you can do with an eggplant? If so, I would love to do it with this plant. I've really enjoyed eating these. I've never had an eggplant taste good before until I grew this plant. So I'm just really excited and would love to keep it alive if I can. I also have my fennel making a comeback, and it's self-seeded all over this bed. So there's little fennel plants growing everywhere. There's some down there. The soybeans are just about done. I think I'm gonna save the rest of these for seed. And underneath all of this basil, there's more fennel growing. So I'll just let this be a fennel paradise because fennel is really good in the winter. I love using it for salads. So I'm very happy with it. And once it blooms, you can always save the seeds for different dishes and whatnot. Behind it, of course, I have my herb beds. They're doing really well. I haven't had another saffron flower yet. I had one, so I was able to save a little bit of saffron. I've been keeping an eye on that. Otherwise, everything's doing really well. The lemongrass also, that'll stay until we have a freeze. Honestly, maybe even until a hard freeze. I feel like it's slightly cold tolerant. Still nothing on my artichokes. They have been the biggest disappointment. I've had them for 3 seasons now and nothing. I also planted this society garlic for the first time and it's doing pretty well. I mean, it hasn't died, so I'm happy about that. Not too much to report with the blackberries. I kind of just leave them alone until the spring. And then over here, this is what I was talking about with the Swiss chard. I had 3 giant plants in here. They all died except for this one. This is the peppermint chard, I think. And it's alive, but it doesn't look the best. So I'm not gonna do my best to take care of it. I think it'll produce fairly well in the winter, but I'll kind of let it go in the summer. This basil also didn't do the best over here. I know it looks big, but all of my other basil did better. So I'm not gonna plant that back here anymore. My plan is to have this be asparagus, and then I planted one, but I will plant more in the spring. I'm gonna put a bunch of strawberries underneath it because I think this asparagus will provide some nice shade in the summer when it gets a little bit too hot for the strawberry plants. So that's my plan. Hopefully it'll work. Also, these have really shallow roots and asparagus have deeper roots. So I think it'll be a good balance overall. This bed I'm completely overhauling, so I have a lot of dead plants that I've put in here for now, but I am going to, at the end of the season, take these kale out once spring rolls around, and then I'll see what I can do about this bed, because nothing has grown well in here except these kale, and they've just taken over and they're a little too big. They just get in the way. So I think it's time for a fresh start with the kale plants. Since the cold snap didn't quite get these tomatoes either, I've left them in. But next to them, I just planted yesterday 2 cabbages that I bought. So they're still in a little bit of shock right now. It's also a lot warmer today than I was expecting it to be. So I might not have planted them yesterday if I knew it was going to be this hot, but I think they'll be okay. This one in particular looks pretty good. They just feel a little wilted. I think tomorrow when it cools down, they'll be fine, but hopefully I can get a good cabbage this year. I really struggle with those brassicas that take a long time to be ready. I do much better with short-term brassicas like radishes and bok choy, but it's just because the climate here is so warm. So hopefully I can get it to work, but I might give up because this will be the 3rd season in a row trying. So if I don't get anything, I'm trying just cabbage and broccoli this year. No Brussels sprouts, no cauliflower. So hopefully one of these works. If it doesn't though, might have to give up and focus on some other things. Yes, hello. Hello. Always have to oblige a Safi when she says hello. It's good to see you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, next to these, I have the carrots, obviously, which are the same. They are growing better. Now that it is cooler again, they look healthier. They really do not like the hot weather here. So once it drops below the 80s, they are some very happy plants. And next to them still is my mess of a bed here. I don't even know what to call it. I have the Thai basil, which is taking over the whole thing, but I also still have my sun golds and my yellow pear tomatoes that are alive, and I am still harvesting them. They are doing well despite the cold snaps. I'm really shocked because I did not cover these tomatoes. I thought it would be way too messy to cover them, and they did just fine. So I think honestly, I know I keep saying this, but unless we get a real freeze, which typically happens by now, I think I'm gonna still get tomatoes, which is crazy, absolutely crazy, especially since this happened to my sweet potatoes. Once this happens, they're not gonna be making new potatoes anymore. So I do need to come in, but Thanksgiving is this week, so I'm putting it off until after that. But after Thanksgiving, I will be coming in and just leveling this and getting all the sweet potatoes out. Last year, I did a video on it that did really well, but I got 43, I think, and a half pounds of sweet potatoes, and I planted more in here this year. So I will do another video once I have the time to go through and harvest everything. It's just so fun. It's like you're digging for gold, like you're mining almost. It's so much fun harvesting the sweet potatoes, and I have been waiting since May or June, so hopefully that does well. These tomatoes are still doing okay. I've got a few on the plant. I did pick a bunch of them that were bigger before the cold snap, and they're ripening inside, so I'm very excited about that. There's another one in there that looks good, and then this basil is just knocking down this entire contraption. I have to do something different for a trellis next year, but it's pretty much just the basil and this tomato plant in here. And finally, I have just this giant rosemary plant. But do you see these blooms? I didn't realize until a few years ago that rosemary actually bloomed, and it's so pretty. I love the pretty little periwinkle purple blooms. They're just stunning. I think they're adorable, some of the best. So I always love to just stop and take a look at them when I can. And then not too much else in here. Everything else is pretty much dying, unfortunately. And I do want to point out my potatoes are still going strong. I was really worried about them with the cold snap too, but they're doing okay. Unfortunately, this pepper plant got way too heavy and it did collapse. Looks like a pepper fell off. I'll have to take that inside. So my husband did strip it. He was really helpful stripping the pepper plants before the cold snap. So there's nothing on here. We might try to stake it back up, but honestly, I don't think there's going to be too much production for that. But I'm really happy about these fall potatoes. I do need to put in some more dirt, but I think we're gonna get actually a few this year. And then finally, next to saffron, I've got a few things happening. My blueberry plant is growing new shoots, so I'm very excited about that. I do have some of my overwintering peppers, we'll see how they do. The smaller ones are doing a lot better. They have recovered already. The leaves look really good. I have not taken the peppers off yet. I do need to do that. And then I have all of my seedlings waiting in the wings. I have so many leeks right now. I'm really excited about them. I need to get them out in the garden once it gets a little cooler. I've got some dill, and then I have broccoli. I have a kale that's waiting, and just a couple more of those overwintered peppers. You never left this bed. You okay? Having a good time in here? Yeah, you sweet boy. Probably feels really nice in the shade. That's probably why you're just hanging out here. Nice and cool over here. You smart boy. So that's it for our November garden tour. There's just a lot happening. The garden is extremely chaotic right now. And like I said before, it's a garden in transition. So I've got lots more plans to get things like bok choy in the garden. I just needed to stay cooler so I can start these seeds. Every time it looks like it's gonna get cool enough and I start some seeds, we have an 80-degree day. And so I don't know. I'm trying my best. I've got things started that I can. I'm at least happy that I've been able to get some things in the ground. It's just been really unusually warm, and that's okay for some things because I'm still getting tomatoes and it's almost December. We've always had a freeze before Thanksgiving every year that I've lived here, and the fact that we're not going to is wild. And I'm kind of grateful for it actually, because I can keep some things alive a bit longer from the summer garden. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. I haven't been able to get those fall winter crops that I normally have this time of year going, but I still have tomatoes. I still have peppers. I have basil that's still alive in December. That's just not something that's possible usually. So I'll be grateful for that. I'll take that as a little bit of a win. But thank you so much, especially if you made it this far. If you like this video, make sure to give Nutmeg and I here a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here on the channel. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.